One Altoona family is now without their son, who had autism after he drowned in a pond. Last year, 82 children with autism drowned in the U.S., which is more than double the previous year. That's according to the National Autism Association. Local 5's Alex Fulton sat down with the Scher family in their first one-on-one interview. Alex, what did they tell you?
Well, Larissa, the Scher family's main message is that children with severe autism aren't invisible. Elliot Scher was an eloper, meaning he was known for running and not looking back.
He found pleasure in things that we would just find mundane.
6-year-old Elliot Scher loved to be in the water.
Any type of water, the backyard, he would play in water for forever.
His parents say it's likely what drew him to the pond at Enabling Garden in Altoona on Tuesday. His father was pulling a wagon with Elliot in it when he turned around and he was no longer there.
He was buckled in and he was a good escape artist, so as Charles was pulling him, he must have just slipped out.
Police later found Elliot's clothes along the shoreline and his body in the water.
It's such a tragedy, and we're just hollow without him. And I mean, these last few days have just been a blur, and it doesn't seem real.
It happened in a matter of minutes. Elliot's escape caused a tragedy his parents say he wouldn't be able to comprehend.
He had no sense of danger, and the world is just a very dangerous place for a severely autistic child who doesn't understand.
Elliot had level 3 autism, meaning he didn't have a receptive language to understand orders or really any other dialogue.
He was a baby. A baby, if you can imagine a baby inside of a bigger body, that's who Elliot was.
The Schers hope their story will bring awareness to a community that isn't always talked about.
I just want others to just have empathy for families with severely autistic children, to understand more, and just leave a judgment because a child lost their life.
The Scher family plans to work with city officials to get a rail installed around the pond at Enabling Garden. They say it may not have prevented Elliot's death, but it would have at least slowed him down.
Well, tonight we are continuing to follow the massive fire that engulfed the Moose Lodge in Newton. Crews worked tirelessly overnight to put out that blaze, but the event space has been reduced to rubble. Fortunately, no one was inside at the time. Local 5's Megan McPherson was on the scene today to inspect the damage and to speak to some of those impacted.
With such a long history in this community, first built in the 1940s, now the scene of a devastating fire that broke out just before 10 p.m. on Sunday evening. I've heard from several residents who have come here to the scene sharing memories from their early childhood and on as they held events here. Some of them even members coming here weekly to the lodge. Now fire investigators are still here on scene, putting up tape that we did not first see on Monday morning. Clearly this is still an active investigation, and the only thing that remains that was untouched by the fire, the moose sign right out in front, those 5 red letters, and any signage, that was really the only thing that was not damaged in the fire, as well as the American flag outside. Again, many residents coming out here sharing memories, some of them even hosting events here in the coming weeks, now having to scramble to find other places to hold those events. That's the case for one resident who we spoke with. She had planned to hold her daughter's upcoming Sweet 16 birthday party here on May 3rd. The family just devastated to learn that the lodge is now destroyed.
I don't think you could probably find anybody who's lived here that can't give you some sort of memory of the moose. People are like, yeah, you just drive by and the parking lot would be packed. I mean, there's just always people here, always has been. Venues can be changed, lives can't be replaced. So we're thankful overall, and we'll get through it. So.
Angie Wadsworth, who you heard from there, tells me that the lodge reached out to her first thing on Monday morning, offering a full refund for the cost of that booking. Now, of course, that doesn't necessarily solve the issue of where she's going to hold that party, but there were already residents offering to host that event at their location. So she certainly got a lot of community support rallying around her and her family as she works to change those plans that have been long set in stone. In Newton, Megan McPherson, Local 5 News.
The Iowa Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, met earlier this month for the first time. With 16 members, the task force contains lawmakers and people in the business world. Our Connor O'Neill has been looking into the group regarding its past involvement donating to government officials.
And Stephanie, we used the donor lookup tool OpenSecrets.org to research the members' payment history into campaigns. Now, half of the Iowa Doge Task Force are non-donors, while the other half are Republican Party donors. In fact, over $200,000 has been given to Republican politicians, including Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds. The Iowa Doge Task Force met for the first time this month. During that meeting, it shared their timeline for the next few months and broke down the committee into subcommittees specializing in meeting its certain goals, like implementing artificial intelligence into the state government.
Dig in deep and let's be that transformative and bold changes that the governor has charged us with, and go on and gather what we can, listen to what has been inputted, and also identifying the areas for the next step. So.
The 16-member board consists of donors to Republican politicians, past and current, totaling $231,477, and just $1,000 to Democratic candidates, according to OpenSecrets.org. Emily Schmidt appears to have donated nearly $3,000 to Governor Kim Reynolds, who asked Schmidt to chair the task force. And it appears at least $43,000 was donated by Iowa Doge members to Reynolds directly. With all donors on the task force having Republican interests, state Democratic leadership recently called being left off Iowa Doge a mystery.
She needs to be looking internally at what's happening with the voucher program, at what's happening with her own programs. And yes, it would be nice if this could be a bipartisan effort.
Members of the task force also made payments to current and former state representatives and senators, and to U.S. Senators Joni Ernst and Chuck Grassley. Now, it is worth saying that members we reached out to who got back to us were unavailable to speak on this today. Now, a report of the task force findings are supposed to be submitted to the governor 180 days after the first meeting, so that sets it up for the end of September as a tentative date. The task force recommendations are to be implemented next legislative session. Stephanie.
Iowa State is shutting down a program that taught children across the state about various species of insects. Local 5's Alex Fulton shares the impact to student workers as well as the students they work with.
He's our biggest beetle right now.
Insect Zoo at Iowa State is home to 150 different species of insects.
This is Toffee. She's one of our Asian forest scorpions.
A group of college students care for the critters and show them off at educational events at schools and other settings.
Making sure kids aren't going to squash every bug that they see on the ground, and just showing them that they aren't scary.
Last week, they learned the program through the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences won't continue after this semester.
But then as soon as I got back to my apartment and my boyfriend was like, how'd it go? I broke down.
A spokesperson with Iowa State shared in a statement that the closure came after a review of Insect Zoo. The statement said, quote, "The review determined that the zoo's budget model, which is primarily funded through user fees, was no longer viable."
I guess I could call my summer job, my other small 20-hour, 15-hour-a-week job, and see if they are taking on full-time. Otherwise, I'll have to go back to retail.
This summer alone, the college program was supposed to employ 6 students, making appearances at over 150 events across the state.
It's not often that you get to find a job that's so perfectly related to what you're interested in, and I felt so lucky when I got this job.
Students will deeply miss a program they say is unique at the university.
I feel like the community that we've built here at the zoo is really important, and I think it's something that they'll never be able to replace at the university.
Iowa State is working on finding a new home for the insects. Some of them are expected to go to Reman Gardens. From Iowa State, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
Well, tonight, we now know that one person was shot and killed by law enforcement this morning off Interstate 80 near Earlham. This is a story we have been tracking all day here on Local 5 News. And with the latest details on what we need to know, we head out to our reporter Connor O'Neill. What can you tell us, Connor?
Stephanie, well, this section of Interstate 80 near DeSoto was actually closed and blocked off for a few hours earlier this morning. That's because the Dallas County Sheriff's Office told us that a suspect shot at deputies. How and why this incident all started, though, still remains unanswered, but I am told that there was gunfire exchanged earlier this morning. The officials that were involved have been placed on paid administrative leave per department policy, and also their names won't be released because this investigation is still ongoing. The Dallas County Sheriff's Office said law enforcement was called out to what it called a traffic complaint shortly after 1:30 Tuesday morning. After officials arrived, they located a suspect along Interstate 80 near Earlham.
I believe he's still at the front of his vehicle, Copy, believe he shot the front of the vehicle. Hands are up. There's still something in his right hand.
Where's he at? He's laying down on the interstate on the westbound side. His hands are up.
Officials say the suspect then fired multiple shots at law enforcement.
Suspect down.
Then moments later, officers on scene were shot at again and returned fire. The suspect was shot and pronounced dead at the scene by first responders, according to the Dallas County Sheriff's Office.
Is he detained? Is it insecure?
He is detained. They're checking another vehicle that was just out from the scene. Other than that, the scene's secure.
We still don't know how many officers were involved, like I said, or how this incident and why it all started. But when we do receive those updates and more information, we'll of course keep you updated on air and on our website, weareiowa.com. Reporting from alongside Interstate 80 near DeSoto, Connor O'Neill, Local 5 News.
Well, a suspect that died after a shootout with authorities in Dallas County was also involved in a shooting with police in Colorado. According to the El Paso County Sheriff, officers with the Colorado Springs Police Department responded to a disturbance report on Sunday. A suspect started shooting at an officer when she got there. She shot back and the suspect ran away. DNA analysis and video evidence show the suspect is 51-year-old Von Derek Rayford. He was later shot and killed by authorities in Dallas County on Tuesday after a shootout with officials on Interstate 80. Iowa Gardening for Good is stepping up to fill a need after the USDA's local food purchase assistance program was cut. The federal program provided funding to food pantries to purchase produce and meat from local farms. Local 5's Alex Fulton shares how the Madrid nonprofit is now responding.
Well, Stephanie, Iowa Gardening for Good is growing more this year, not only because of federal cuts, but also because of a greater demand for food.
This is just peppers. Back there is some of the cabbage.
Peppers and cabbage are some of the things grown at Iowa Gardening for Good.
The last time we checked, the food we grow has gone to over 70 different food pantries.
The nonprofit's director, Tracy Blackmer, says this year he wants to grow 300,000 pounds of produce. That's 80,000 more pounds delivered to central and northeast Iowa food pantries compared to last year.
This is the first year we planted a lot of potatoes, but just because we know the need is there, the demand is there.
Iowa Gardening for Good's goal comes after the USDA ended the local food purchase assistance program. Iowa alone received $2.7 million in federal funding to stock the shelves of food pantries with produce and meat from local farms.
The people in need are having less money, but also the organizations serving them is going to have less money.
One pantry Iowa Gardening for Good works with went from serving 150 people a day in 2018 to 650 people a day last year.
The food pantries are seeing more people that just don't have enough. It's not just the people that are really down on their luck. More and more people are in need.
Unlike most farms, the nonprofit is almost entirely funded through community donations, allowing its work to continue.
You really feel like Santa Claus when you go into the food pantry, when you bring a truckload of stuff in there.
Well, all eyes are on the 2026 gubernatorial race following Governor Kim Reynolds' decision to not run for office again. Larissa Leone has been making calls to see which political leaders are considering going after the top seat in the state. Larissa.
Well, Stephanie, the 2026 general election is set for November 3rd, and while many political leaders have indicated interest in running for governor, very few have made definitive announcements. Republican State Representative Brad Sherman announced his candidacy in February. In contrast, Mariannette Miller Meeks quickly says she will not run for governor. Other Republicans have stated they are considering throwing their name in the hat. Secretary of Ag Mike Nag says right now he is focusing in doing the job he was elected, saying in part, quote, "Several folks have reached out in recent days and encouraged me to consider a run for governor. My family and I are thoughtfully discussing that possibility and keeping all options on the table. Regardless of this decision, I intend to be on the ballot in 2026. Speaker Pat Grassley is also said to be interested in the state's highest seat. When asked, he shared with us a statement saying in part, quote, "As for my political future, I'm not ruling anything out. My focus right now remains on the last few weeks of session with the House Republican caucus and delivering on the promises we've made to Iowans." Attorney General Brenna Byrd is also a possible candidate. We asked her team if she is preparing to run, but have not heard back yet. During caucus season, President Donald Trump says he sees a future where Byrd is Iowa's next governor.
She stepped up. She's going to be your governor someday, I predict. So we'll see.
State Auditor Rob Sand and Representative Josh Turk are other names being thrown around from the Democratic Party. We reached out to both of their teams and have not gotten a response. There's still a lot of time for others to step forward, and we will continue to update you when those announcements pour in. Stephanie?
The fire on 11th Street near Evelyn K. Davis Park was a sober recovery home. It's owned by Kingdom Living Iowa, a nonprofit for people struggling with addiction. In a time of uncertainty, Local 5's Alex Fulton shares how the nonprofit is ensuring its residents stay sober.
8 men battling substance abuse lived at this home, a place to turn their lives around.
Our program is based off allowing someone to come in with absolutely nothing and get reestablished and start getting their so-called house in order.
The men now have nothing after a fire spread throughout the Kingdom Living Iowa group home Tuesday evening.
They're in one of the they're in the most vulnerable spot in their lives, trying to get their life back together.
To make matters worse, someone is impersonating Kingdom Living Iowa trying to collect money donations.
We put a post on there, if you're going to donate, do it directly to our website or our donate button on Facebook.
The men were moved to some of the nonprofit's other sober recovery homes in Des Moines.
They did get split up from the guys they were used to living with, but they are in homes, yes.
Kingdom Living Iowa is also making sure the men have basic necessities in their new place of living.
We were also, last night, we're rushing to make sure they had bedding and hygiene and things that they need to get them as comfortable as we possibly could.
Despite the disruptions, the nonprofit's leaders know the men will stick to the path of healing.
You know, and that was a conversation that we've had with all the men is stay sober, stay productive, go to work, you're going to be just fine.
Kingdom Living Iowa is accepting donations of money, towels, and backpacks. Physical donations can be taken to the Rise Recovery Center. The center's address and a link to donate money can be found on our website at weareiowa.com. In Des Moines, Alex Fulton, Local 5 News.
A Waukee tea shop is asking the community to move forward and show kindness. It's after this video at Zenko Tea got hundreds of thousands of views on Facebook Monday. In the video, 2 teenagers walked into the Zenko Tea shop with outside drinks. Now, Foon, who's the owner, was working with her 6-month-old baby strapped to her chest. After Foon told the teenagers they couldn't have outside drinks in the store, they threw Jenga blocks at Foon and her baby and ran away. Within the same hour at Zenko Tea's Des Moines location, the tip jar was stolen. It was a day Foon is still trying to wrap her head around.
It made me really upset, honestly. I couldn't think anything. I just questioned myself why that happened to me twice. I just tried to run a business, try to serve community. Why that happened, that all in my mind.
Foon says the next day they had a line of people waiting to support her business. However, after the video went viral on Facebook, the family of one of the teenagers reached out to apologize. Foon was able to meet with the teenager and hear him out. Now she is moving forward.
I just want to tell people that the incident is over and we happy what we right now. So just give them a sympathy and so also give them a second chance to change. They're just a teenager.
Graduating high school in Iowa will have a new requirement once a bill that just passed both chambers gets the governor's signature. Students will be required to pass a U.S. civics test to receive their diploma. It's the same exam the country gives immigrants to become legal citizens. Our Connor O'Neill has more of what we need to know.
Lawmakers in the Iowa House spent an hour Thursday discussing whether to give high school students a new graduation requirement. A civics test identical to the U.S. citizenship test. Students would need to get 60% of the questions right to pass and be able to graduate. If they fail, students can retake an unlimited amount of times. House Republicans said not enough citizens know about the government, and this would help them. Some Democrats agreed, but added that having a civics test as a requirement is too far.
But this bill, Senate File 369, is a bill that should be thought of as a bill to be an encouragement to knowledge, not as a barrier to graduation.
It doesn't meet the moment, it doesn't engage students. Instead, it puts in front of them a 100-question multiple choice test that may scare them because it may stop them from graduating.
The exam tests students on concepts like the Declaration of Independence, the president's abilities, 13 original colonies, and citizens' rights. Democrats were also concerned about who will pay for the tests and the cost for students to take them at schools during the summer.
When school districts have to open their doors to accommodate for students who weren't able to pass a test, that costs money. And where does that money come from? Well, it doesn't come from here, because this body only gave them 2%.
Iowa's civics test would be multiple choice, unlike the one the federal government gives immigrants, which is open-ended. The Senate previously passed the bill, and it just passed the House on Thursday, meaning it now heads to the governor's desk for her signature moving forward. Reporting from the state capitol, Connor O'Neill, Local 5 News.
Classes at Simpson College are canceled tomorrow as the campus community mourns the death of President and alumnus Jay Byers. As Simpson announced Byers would take over as the head of the college in 2023 and was inaugurated the following year. Before that, he worked for the Greater Des Moines Partnership for 18 years. In a press conference this afternoon, Simpson officials said Byers didn't show up to some meetings this morning, so they called for a wellness check at the president's house on campus. Byers was then found dead. The college officials add this comes as a shock and a huge loss for the school.
Jay has had a tremendous amount of influence and impact during his career, and this will take some time, but we will take that time to grieve. We will take our time to recover, and then we will move forward. That's exactly what Jay would expect.
Indianola police say they do not believe anything criminal contributed to Byers' death, but it is still under investigation. Simpson says grief counselors will be available for any students or staff that need someone to talk to. The college will be sharing more details on how it's moving forward next week. Senator Chuck Grassley spoke on the 2026 gubernatorial race. Larissa Leon joins us now after catching up with the senator. Larissa, who does Grassley have his eye on for the state's highest seat?
Well, Stephanie, Senator Grassley and I discussed a variety of topics. When asked about the gubernatorial race and whether his grandson, Representative Pat Grassley, is considering running, he stated that he would back his grandson if he decided to pursue that choice.
I think he has done a good job as Speaker of the House, and I also would be proud to support him for the governorship if he decided to seek it.
Recently, Senator Chuck Grassley has faced some backlash from constituents during his town halls. I caught up with the senator to discuss some of the issues on people's minds. Senator Chuck Grassley has encountered strong emotions during his recent town halls.
I think it's very necessary, whether you've got a friendly audience or a non-friendly audience, to try to answer their questions and know what's on people's minds.
Iowa voters are urging the senator to take a stand against the Trump administration regarding immigration issues. Those attending a town hall in Madison criticized the back and forth between the Trump administration and the judicial system.
Trump don't care.
Grassley maintains his commitment to holding the administration accountable to the law.
If the president doesn't know it, he's got to abide by court decisions. But whether he believes it or not, he has said that, but he added to it, but I will appeal. But there's eventually on appeal that if the Supreme Court says you can't do something, he can't do it.
Iowans also expressed their concerns about the Trump administration's tariff rollouts. Grassley introduced a tariff bill aimed at reducing future tariffs imposed by Trump and subsequent administrations. He emphasized that the bill is prospective, not retroactive.
I need to thank Trump, because if I'd offered this bill 2 years ago, it would not go attention. But he brings up the issue of tariffs, so it gives me an opportunity to accomplish what I did in 19 and 20 when I was chairman of the Finance Committee.
Regarding his town halls, Grassley shows no signs of stopping Iowans from having the opportunity to share their concerns with him face to face.
My colleagues have advised me not to do this, but something you've been doing for 45 years, going to every county every year for a Q&A with your constituents, I'm not about to give up on it now.